Do you have multiple IRA accounts or old 401ks that are at different brokers, different advisors, different custodians, and you have it that way because you feel like you have some extra layer of diversification, right? In this video, I want to discuss one of our viewer questions of, if you have multiple accounts out there, should they be consolidated at one firm or one financial advisor? And do you have any extra risk to less diversification that way? Find out as we answer that in this video. Hello everyone, I'm Logan Sadler back here again with another video. And for those of you I haven't met, again, Logan Sadler, I'm a financial advisor out here in California. And in today's video series, we're going to talk about one question that I think I've answered on here before. I've answered a bunch on the radio show, and I've had this conversation a lot with some of our clients. So again, I work with people that are typically approaching retirement or transitioning into retirement phase, and they're looking to, typically at that point, you guys have gathered assets. You have 401ks, you have old IRAs, you maybe have some brokerage accounts, insurance products, whatever it is, right? So I get this all the time. One of the biggest things is sometimes clients will have up to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different accounts sometimes all over the place. And they say, one of the first things I do when I'm looking through their portfolio, I say, is there a reason why we have so many accounts? And a lot of times they'll say, well, I have it that way because I'm worried that if I have it with one person or one advisor or one firm, I don't have any diversification, right? I just got one firm. Now, I wanted to talk to you. We actually have a viewer question that asked that same thing. It's from Ruth out here in, actually, she's out here in Riverside. And she had asked that question. I was recently told by a current advisor that I should consolidate all of my old 401ks into just one IRA. But that seems to be a little unethical or really lacks the reason of diversification. Am I missing something? That's a great question. So, in the older days, I always said there was a lot more reason back in the day to keep things separate. A lot of advisors didn't have access to certain things. A lot more advisors were proprietary, only had a few products to work with. Now, especially in the independent route, you go with an advisor, they typically have access to thousands of different mutual funds, stocks, ETFs, everything, right? Every time a client comes on board, we review all their assets, look at what they have, where it's located, as well as what their goals and everything are as well as it pertains to the plan. But one of the first things we start with is kind of locating where all the assets are, how they're titled, what type of tax status, all of that stuff. So it's almost more often than not, clients will have 5 or 6 different accounts, and they're all tracking or very close to the same, S&P 500 or the Dow or whatever the indexes are. They're almost all invested very similarly, right? There's very rare times where one client has one account over here that's only in alternatives. One client has one over here that's only in bonds. One has another account over here in equities. It's very rare you see that. Most of the time, they're in tracking very similar investments. And sometimes, I've seen this multiple times, they actually hold the exact same funds, right? I've seen some clients have an account over here with an advisor, account over here with an advisor, and they actually hold the exact same funds. So to answer Ruth's question really specifically is what extra added diversification would you really have by having separate advisors, right? You're not getting anything different as far as the holdings go. And typically, as it comes time to retirement plan, a lot of what we preach is typically consolidation. And I tell people this, whether you go with our firm or another firm, it's super important to look at, what assets you have, what types of accounts can we consolidate those are, right? Roth to Roth, IRA to IRA, all of that stuff to keep things like titled, but more importantly, to keep everything very simplistic. And a lot of the times through a good advisor, you could have things like structured notes, annuities, you could have different brokerage accounts, different ETFs, different mutual funds, different stocks. You could have a lot of that all now through one advisor relationship if they're an independent advisor that has access to all the tools mentioned. But typically now you can get that one customized relationship. And I tell people this all the time. Typically, if you have the right advisory firm and right advisor for you, typically you could actually get a better overall plan with the one advisor because they don't know what's going on over here or what's going on over here. But if we have access to everything you have access to all the tools, we can plug and play investments you might want conservative, alternative investments, annuities, right? All these different types of things you might want to place into the retirement account. You can do all of that typically now through one advisor instead of having 5 or 6 different accounts. So again, like I said, most of the time it just gets more and more confusing for the client, and it's harder for them to keep track. I've seen it time and time again where people lose track of an account. They'll come on board with us and go, you know what, Logan, I forgot I had this old XYZ account. It had, 20,000 or 50,000 or whatever the amount is. I've seen that time and time again. So, typically in today's realm, Ruth, I would say to answer it very, very directly, most of the time, if you're finding the right advisor that can do, everything you need to be done for your track and your current retirement plan to keep you on track, is typically you are better off rolling those over into one IRA or at least into just a few IRAs to help consolidate things down. And again, you can still diversify more inside that one account. Not saying you should put all your assets in one type of investment, but you could typically get a lot more planning and a lot more individual advice when an advisor has access to everything and things are consolidated. Even if you wanted to manage it yourself, I would still recommend that same walk of life there. So hopefully that answered your question. It's one of my favorite things to talk about because I get that confusing, mind statement all the time there where it sounds better to have multiple, but a lot of the times you can consolidate and still accomplish our goal of diversification. So again, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully we answered your question, and leave us a comment. We'll be happy to answer any other questions that come up because again, this channel is just here to provide some value and some education to you guys. Thanks. See you next time.